Hey guys, so right here in this video we'll be learning about a really important part of programming, loops. Well, what loops typically allow us to do is to repeat the same chunk of code. Well, I can give you a very simple example. Imagine having like 100 players on the server and you want to do the same check on every player. For example, if they have a gun equipped, then you're not gonna do 100 lines of code to check for each player, but you're gonna do one loop that will go and iterate or just go through each player to do the checks, do whatever you need it to do. Now, as you may have noticed, I'm actually right here not on a 3D server, but on a 2D server, and that is really to show that GraalScript 2 can be written on any server, whether it's a custom one, whether it's the 2D version of Era right here, or it's a 3D testbed that we've been working on, anything. So as far as loops, there are two main loops that you need to know and understand. There's the for loop and the while loop. So let's begin with the most simple one, the for loop. Usually the for loop is used for a finite iteration when we actually know how many times we're gonna iterate and we're gonna actually run the code for. So as an example, let me write a simple for loop. So as you can see right here, this for loop is divided with three sections. So first of all, you're going to set an initial term, usually the counter, or in this case m.I, is set to an initial value, which is 0. Then we're going to give a condition. So basically do the loop until this condition is false. So until temp.I is less than 10, so when it gets to 9. And then how to increment I. So plus plus means you add 1 to it on every iteration. Other example could be plus equal 2. But for now, let's keep it as plus 1. Now, what is the chunk of code that we're going to be repeating? Now, in our case, since we want to keep it simple, we're just going to see what temp.I is. So we're going to echo it. So when we come right here to the actual game and open the F2 console, once we apply this code, as you can see, it goes from 0 to 9 as expected. Now, if we change the condition to be equal to 10 and apply, yep, we start from 0 all the way through 10. And really, there can be really a lot of manipulation you can do here. For example, I can move the player 10 steps, each time 1. To show you how the counter differs. If I do plus equal to 2. Now, just for clarity's sake, let's add some delimiters in the echo. As we can see, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, incremented by 2. And of course, you can manipulate however you want. You can start the condition from 10 and go all the way down till it's more than 0 and decrement actually the counter. And really, for loops are really simple to use and generally used when there's a finite number. Right here we have 10, exactly 10 elements that we want to go through. Now in contrast, a while loop actually takes a raw condition, for example temp.condition, can be a boolean, it can be anything. So for now, let's say temp.condition, and will only stop looping when this condition turns to false. Only then. Typically, while loops are used for infinite tries, so when we don't know when we're going to stop, we don't have an actual count, it will keep on running. For example, this can be a problem usually. So if I go and say temp.condition equal to true, this will never stop, and echo hello. So when I run this code, you can actually see that it will stop. This is something because of GraalScript that actually prevents infinite looping, but you get the idea. So a while loop is when we're not really certain when to stop. So for example, while we're waiting for something, while the player is still not in this zone, you just keep calling him to it, or just wait. These are simple examples. So now, of course, you can use a while loop to actually use like the counter, same as a for loop. If you just temp.I is greater than 10, if you initialize it right here, is equal to 0, and then right here just increment it manually inside the for loop. Now, in that case, yep, we are gonna have the same thing as the for loop. If I run this code, that is less than 10, run this code, yep, as you can see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10. We have the same effect. Now the main difference between a while loop and a for loop is just their use case. So a while loop is when it's undetermined how many iterations, how many times I want to run the snippet of code between the brackets, and the for loop is when I actually know it when. Now there's not really any concrete example right now, but you're really gonna see the importance of for loops, and which are the majority of loops used, when we're actually going to go into more of into the arrays and how to actually go through an array, because array has elements, and going through elements is basically an iteration. So basically these are loops. They're rather simple. It's just a repeating chunk of code. Repeating, repeating, repeating. Doing the same thing over and over now. It may not be obvious why we'd want to do that right now, but you can just imagine if you have a lot of players just doing same checks on them. If you have, we'll go through arrays later on, how to actually manipulate every single part of their data. And yeah, if you have really any questions or anything that's still hazy or unclear, the Discord channel will always be open to you to ask any questions you want, and we'll be more than happy to help you out in your developer journey as a Graal scripter.